Thank you all for being here. We are here for the DAO's regular Monday press conference. I do want to make a comment at the very beginning, though, because obviously there has been some significant news over the weekend in relation to the mass shooting that occurred. I will not be making any specific comments or answering any questions about the 911 call, about the radio dispatch. It is my understanding the commissioner is having a press conference at 1 o'clock today. And so I will be suggesting that any questions on those topics can be raised with PPD. I was in touch with the commissioner a number of times this weekend. I'm very familiar with the situation, but I believe that she and her office are best situated to answer those questions. So, of course, we do two things at these conferences. One is we talk about what occurred during the last week, especially in terms of data or some individual cases involving gun violence. But the second thing that we do is discuss a specific topic. And the topic here today is not brand new, but the topic is new in the sense that it is about a different section of Philadelphia, and that is Northeast Philadelphia. We have now done a number of press conferences in which we lifted up the names and faces of people who are wanted for homicides, people who have open homicide fugitive warrants out for them. We will be doing the same with reference to what are ultimately 9 individuals wanted for homicides that occurred in Northeast Philadelphia. I do want to begin by acknowledging some of the folks who are here. We have First Assistant Bob Listenby. We have Rochelle Bilal, Philadelphia Sheriff from the Sheriff's Office. We also have with her Tyreek El-Shabazz of the Sheriff's Office. We have Lieutenant Hamilton Marshmond, who is from the Homicide Unit of the Philadelphia Police Department and has been at a number of these conferences to highlight individuals we are hoping to apprehend. I had an interesting talk with Lieutenant Marshmond, who talked about the process and how this good idea, which ADA Pescator, the chief of our Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, who is also here, invented. But this works. Turns out when you put names and faces out there, there's an awful lot of good people in Philadelphia who don't want them fugitive. They don't want them on the run. They want them brought to justice, and they want them to face their charges. So it is our hope that once again, this process of putting up faces and names to particular crimes will result in information coming back to PPD, coming back to Lieutenant Marshmond, and will result in additional apprehensions, as we have seen. We have seen good outcomes as a result of this process, and that's why we continue to do them. We also have the Reverend Myra Maxwell here, who is the director of the DAO's Victim Support Services Division.
Behind you.
Yes. How are you, Myra? Thank you for being here. All right. First of all, as we turn to look at June the 30th through July the 6th, June the 30th through July the 6th, this is the usual period that we cover when we look back at a prior week. We see that there are 224 homicides year to date as of July the 9th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. On this date last year, there were 283 homicides. That is a reduction of 59 homicides. It's also a decrease of 21%. If we go back another year, we see that this reduction was 67. So we are 67 fewer than 2 years ago. We are 59 fewer than last year. While those numbers are going in a better direction, obviously we remain in the midst of a terrible gun violence crisis, and we are just on the heels of one of the most horrifying crimes that I can remember in the history of the city of Philadelphia. And I am not just thinking back about my legal career of 34 years doing criminal justice. I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. In the last 50 plus years, it's very hard for me to count, even on one hand, crimes more horrific than the mass shooting that was experienced in Philadelphia. And we should never underestimate the impact that incidents like that have directly and indirectly on people, on neighborhoods, on the public, and in fact, in this instance, on the nation, which is why there was so much attention paid to it. But we do sometimes have to hold two things. we have to hold two facts. It is a fact that we have had horrible, horrifying, tragic, atrocious crimes involving guns in the last week, and it is also a fact that we see the numbers are going in a better direction overall at this time. Those are both facts. None of it mitigates the suffering, the pain, the fear, the misery that is being experienced by victims, survivors, co-survivors, neighbors, Philadelphians in general. But both of those things are facts. And if we want to solve problems, we have to be able to hold more than one fact at a time. When we look to gun-related incidents, this would be violent crimes committed with guns. It would also be gun possession. We see 132 gun-related incidents, 82 arrests made by law enforcement, and of them, 81 cases were opened and charged by the DA's office. On my numbers for the week 6/30/23 through 7/6/23, based on PPD data, we are seeing 5 homicides and 27 non-fatal shootings. This, however, I think is missing the murder of a couple that occurred right at the edge of that time period. So depending on how you look at it, because sometimes the act occurs right after midnight, sometimes the act occurs before midnight, but there's not official acceptance of the nature of the case immediately. Depending on how you look at it, it's either 5 homicides or 7 homicides during that relevant time period. I do want to talk briefly about 2 incidents. The first is a homicide by shooting on Saturday, July the 8th on the 5200 block of Jefferson Street in the 19th Police District at about 2:04 p.m. An approximately 34-year-old male was shot multiple times throughout his body. The male was transported by responding 19th District police officers to Penn Presbyterian Hospital, where he was pronounced. No arrest has been made by PPD in this case at this time. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information, please come forward. Please help PPD. Please help us. Please help your city. Contact the PPD's homicide unit at 215-686-3334. The second of 2 shooting incidents I wanted to discuss is a non-fatal shooting involving a robbery. On Sunday, July the 9th, on the 3900 block of Darien Street in the 25th Police District at about 10:50 a.m., an approximately 18-year-old black male was shot during a robbery which occurred in the area of 9th and Pike Street. This investigation remains ongoing. Anyone with information should contact PPD's Shooting Investigation Group at 215-686-8270. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Reverend Myra Maxwell, who runs our Victim Witness Services Unit, a unit that also supervises the DAO's CARES unit, and that unit, of course, provides intensive services to the families of homicide victims during the first 45 days. The Reverend Maxwell will provide some information and a report on their recent activity.
Thank you, DA Krasner, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of our CARES unit has actually provided services to 11 families during the course of this week, providing approximately 35 services to those families. But not only is our CARES unit providing crisis response on the scenes, they are also now at the preliminary hearings. So if there's a preliminary hearing, a homicide preliminary hearing, we have staff that are available to provide accompaniment during that time, along with our community-based partner, the Families of Murder Victims, under the Anti-Violence Partnership of Philadelphia. As you know, that this can be a devastating time for the families, and we want to make sure that they have enough support there to help them through this part of the crisis, because they still are dealing with a crisis. So not only are they there to offer just the court accompaniment, they're also there to offer resources, provide supportive counseling, and to make certain that we are providing other services in other areas in which each individual family member may need, because family members are different. Everyone needs different types of services, so we're there to make sure that they receive the services that best fit their specific needs. So please know, if you need court accompaniment, please reach out to us, or if you have questions, please contact us at the DA's office at 215-686-8027, or you can reach us at the CARES unit at 215-686-8019, or please go to our website. We know everyone has cell phones. The website is available. Please contact us at phillyda.org. That's PHILLYDA.org. We will be happy to provide any support or answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Maxwell. At this time, we are going to shift to our second topic. Since April of 2023, this office has sought the public's assistance in bringing fugitives responsible for shootings, fatal shootings, in these instances, across our city to justice. We have had the excellent partnership of the Sheriff's Office and of the Philadelphia Police Department, among others, in trying to carry this out. We have held press conferences in or relating to fugitives in the Southwest Division, in the Central Division, in the Northwest Division. And it is now our time to highlight fugitives in relation to the Northeast. In the near future, we're also going to highlight cases in South Division and in East Division. But this is step 4 of 6. Now, we are here to talk about cases that occurred in the Northeast. I want to thank ADA Joanne Pescator and staff from the Homicide Unit of the Philadelphia DA's Office, PPD's Homicide Detective Division, and also victim assistance officers and victim advocates, both in and out of the DA's office, who work daily to assist victims of shootings, to assist survivors, co-survivors, to investigate, to prosecute, to provide support for families and for everyone, frankly, impacted by gun violence in our city. We are here to talk about 9. No, wait a minute, not exactly. We're here to talk about 8 fugitives, because Tyree Lennon was captured on Thursday. We are here to talk about several, and I will not go through their names, but I hope you pay close attention when ADA Joanne Pescator and Lieutenant Hamilton Marshmond talk about Kasim Pointer. Every one of these killers has done something atrocious, but I do want you to pay attention when they talk about Kasim Pointer. After ADA Pescator and Lieutenant Marshmond speak, at that point I will come back up to introduce Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal, who will get the last word here, and we are grateful that she has hosted us once again for this effort.
Thank you, DA Krasner. Good morning. I want to first thank the DA for allowing us to do this. I myself, and along with Lieutenant Marshmond, we want these other families to get some kind of closure. We have arrest warrants out there right now for all of these people. We want everybody to pay close attention. If you see them, call, and Lieutenant Marshmond's going to tell you where to call, where to look if you need to see their picture again or anything like that. Lieutenant Marshmond, where can people call with their information?
You certainly can call to the Homicide Unit, 215-686-3334, or you can call our tip line at 215-686-TIPS. In addition, you can contact our U.S. Marshals. You can submit a tip for these individuals that are wanted online with the U.S. Marshals as well as the Philadelphia Police Department.
And as Larry stated, we work closely with our federal partners, the Federal Fugitive Task Force, our own fugitive squad at the Homicide Unit. We're constantly getting information and trying to get these people in. So our first fugitive that's wanted is Justin Akines. Mr. Akines is facing an arrest warrant for the September 5th, 2022 beating death of a 4-month-old child. That child succumbed to his injuries on September 11th of 2022. An arrest warrant was prepared, and on March 9th, that arrest warrant was signed in this particular year. If anybody has any information with regard to the whereabouts of Mr. Kynes, please call those numbers or call my office. You can even call me, 215-686-8045. These next three individuals are part of four defendants that are wanted for the Friday, April 28th, 2023 shooting at 5957 Palmetto Street, where there were four victims in that particular case. 3 persons died and 1 was shot. One of those victims who died was a 14-year-old boy. This particular defendant, Taj Lennon, is a brother of Tyree Lennon with the DA reference, was arrested on July 6th in the 16th Police District. These individuals were in a house at 5957 Palmetto Street, where I said police were called to that location and found dead at the scene were 3 victims, and a 4th victim was taken to the hospital where he survived. The other victims in this case, Kevin Yip, and the last victim, Kysir Reeves. If anybody has any information about these individuals, please call those numbers. Mr. Tyree Lennon was taken into custody on Thursday by officers of the 16th District. That was great police work by them. He's now in custody, so that's one of the 4. The next individual is Kelvin Ortiz Santos. This is a horrific case that happened on April 18th of 2023 at approximately 12:45 a.m. Police were called to a fire at 5900 Sylvester Street here in Philadelphia. When firefighters got there, they found a car was on fire, and inside that car were the charred human remains in the rear seat of that particular car. There is, in fact, video in this case. The males that exited that particular car, one was actually burned as a result of lighting that car on fire after killing the decedent, Luis Rodriguez. If anyone has any information about Kelvin Ortiz Santos, please call those numbers. This is the case that the DA referenced. It's very hard to speak about. The victim in this case is Tervin Johnson, 17-year-old African-American female who was merely walking her dog with her friend at 5323 Horrock Street back in September. Miss Johnson was gunned down at that location, as I said, while walking that dog. Based on excellent investigative police work by the assigned detectives in this particular case, a warrant was gotten for Mr. Pointer on February 16th of 2023. There are other defendants in this case as well. This defendant is known to this particular area and the Delaware and Maryland area as well. So if anybody has any information about this individual, please call those numbers. Next is Nicholas Santiago. Mr. Santiago is wanted for the shooting death of Thomas Dooner. Mr. Dooner was murdered in front of his family back on June 9th of 2023 at 7155 Jackson Street here in Philadelphia. He suffered multiple gunshot wounds. An arrest warrant was approved for Nicholas Santiago on June 10th of 2023. Anyone with any information, please call those numbers. Our last fugitive for today is Rashim Trusty. This is a well-documented incident on Friday, November 18th of 2022 at 10:33 a.m. in the 7300 block of Roland Street here in Philadelphia. A Philadelphia sanitation worker was gunned down at that location. There has been another arrest in this particular case. This is the second defendant. On December 7th of 2022, an arrest warrant was gotten for Rashim Trusty. If anyone has any information about the whereabouts of where Mr. Trusty is, please call those numbers or call the tip line. Thank you.
Thank you, ADA Pescador. Thank you, Lieutenant Marchmont. It is now my pleasure to introduce Sheriff Rochelle Bilal, who's been such an excellent partner with us, as well as with other law enforcement partners not only in this endeavor, but in a number of other endeavors. No one says it like the sheriff, so let me get out of the way so she can do that.
Good morning. We constantly come together here to basically put up the people that are wanted in our city. They're wanted. Maybe you don't know that they're wanted. Here's their picture. We're telling you that they're wanted. So if you see them, let somebody know. Call the numbers. Call the authorities. These people are hurting our community and hurting people in our community. They have to sleep somewhere. They have to eat somewhere. They have to visit somewhere. Grandmoms, cousins, aunts, and uncles, you know who these people are, and you know what they do. The one thing a family member does not want is you don't want the smoke coming up in your house. You don't. Turn them in. Call us. Let us know where they are. Let's stop the madness on our streets because of them.